everybody. This is Jeff Veale, the business guru, coming to you, yes, from downtown Manila, just on lunchtime, and I'm getting hungry. But I got this wonderful guest all the way from my home country of Australia. So we're going to be bringing him on stage very soon. And it's a nice, simple name. I love it when they've got simple names. His name is Dennis Hall, affectionately known as Dennis the Menace. I made that part up, guys. Anyway, his business is Ausbizlinks Business and Jobs Expo. And it's a bloody very interesting concept. He's going to tell you all about it shortly, guys. It's something to do with coaching. He's been in the industry for 21 years, so I think what he might know about that. And Ausbizlinks Business and Jobs Expo, local micro business promotion and support of jobs and expos, puts local business in control of their destiny by providing them with access to resources, platforms and support services that will stimulate their capacity for sustainable growth. So Dennis will help you come from a small business to a big business, if you wish to, right? Key achievements or projects. Dennis established his own business consultancy, Direct Dialogue, in 2024, which over the last 20 years has allowed him to continue to hone his skills as a conference speaker, trainer, and executive management coach. He's a contract to the Australian Institute of Management Queensland as a lead facilitator and executive coach. Personal motto: success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. I love that, Dennis. Very good. If you love what you're doing, you'll be successful. Dennis and I spoke about a half hour earlier, had a bit of a chat. Basically, we haven't got a job, guys. We've got a passion. If you haven't got a passion, get out. You're not a tree. Move. Do something you love. You know, everyone. If you love fishing, do fishing tours. Right? Make some money doing what you love. You know, so get out there and do it, guys. Interesting fact about himself: Dennis lives in a nice part of the world on the Tamborine Mountain, a regional tourist destination in the hinterland of Queensland Gold Coast, with his wife, and together they have plans to continue to do what they enjoy most: travel to places they've not already experienced. And he's got 3 adult children, so they're off your hands now. That's a good thing, Dennis. So with all that, it's my great pleasure to introduce to the stage Mr. Dennis Hall. How are you, Dennis?
I'm great, thanks, Jeff, and thanks for that rousing introduction. I tell you what, I was listening to that and I thought, geez, this guy sounds good, and then I realised you're talking about me.
You are good. You know what you're talking about. You know your stuff. Tell us. Let's get this show underway. Tell us about your journey and what inspired you to pursue your current career. How'd that all come about?
Yeah, look, as you mentioned, I started Direct Dialogue. It was actually 2004, not 2024, but 2004, after many, many years in the corporate arena, mostly in sales and marketing responsible roles. I got out of the corporate world wanting to make a change, both from a sales point of view, and I could see there were opportunities in the market to better inform and educate other people in their careers. So did that for about 11 years, and 2015, my wife and I decided that we were going to go over to Germany and live there for 2 years as a bit of a work, live, travel type of thing. So that caused me to restructure my business, and there were a lot of things obviously I couldn't do remotely, but there were quite a few things that I could. And 2015 was obviously well before COVID and well before things like Zoom and all the other platforms that we've got now. About the only platform available back in those days was Skype, and Microsoft Teams was just getting going. Didn't keep a lot of my clients, but kept enough of them to keep my head above water. And we ended up living in Germany for 3.5 years. We're having such a ball over there. And when I came back from that in 2019, I didn't want to go back into what I was doing before. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved doing what I was doing. But it meant I was spending a lot of time away from home, traveling around Australia, traveling internationally, and I didn't want to keep doing that. I basically took the decision to semi-retire and just pick projects that I wanted to work on rather than looking for the next opportunity, so to speak. And I ended up in the local business space. There's a lot of local businesses that have got a lot of big plans, but they really don't understand marketing. As you would well know, you talk to a lot of people about marketing and their eyes glaze over and they just don't really understand the basic principles. And when you're talking about digital marketing or when you're talking about bricks and mortar marketing, it doesn't really matter. The principles are the same. Some of the vehicles are a little bit different. So what I started to do for local businesses is help them with their marketing strategy. I'd give them a blueprint that would show them how and where they had opportunities to grow their business, and then they would go off and do whatever needed to be done to make that happen. Anyway, one of my clients that I was working with at the time was a lady by the name of Paula Brand, and in 2022, she came to me and said she was going to sell a business, and did I know anybody that might be interested? And at that point, I really didn't think about buying her business, but I knew two people, one in Sydney, one in Melbourne, who I thought would. So I introduced them. Anyway, their conversations didn't lead anywhere. Both of them decided to go in other directions for a variety of reasons. But as a consequence of that process, I learned a lot more about Paula's business. And I could see that she was dealing with the same sort of clients that I wanted to help. Which are small local businesses, typically non-employing. The whole world's against them, but they've got spirit, they've got ideas, they've got energy, but they just don't quite know how to focus it. And also, their community is very disjointed. Local businesses don't act as a group; they act as individuals, and because of that, they don't have a lot of strength. When hard times come along, it's very difficult for them to survive because they're trying to, it's like one little tree in an open field and it just gets blown over, Whereas if they had lots of little trees in clumps, sure, a few of them might fall over in a storm, but the majority of them are going to stay safe. And that's what I saw Paula's business as providing to local businesses. She'd started in 2011. Paula Brand's small business Expos, which started on the Gold Coast. And so I spoke to her about, maybe what I should do is talk to her about taking over the business. And long story short, that's what I did at the end of 2022. And we rebranded because obviously I don't look like Paula Brand. And I don't like that term small business. I don't think any business is small for the person that owns it. It's their life. It's not small. It's a business. So that's why we rebranded to the Business and Jobs Expos, so that we could put it out on a larger scale, still appealing to the same demographic, which is, micro businesses, as they're often referred to, but also introducing them to the industry sector of, HR, job services, placement agencies, training organisations, because every local business needs to bring staff on board at some stage if they're going to grow. So it was all about really introducing them to their local job services community, whether that be to actually hire people, to train people, or to train themselves in how to deal with people in an employment situation. And that brings me to today.
And you've done well, Dennis. It's a great concept you've got. It's like you're a champion. You're basically a champion for small business, which is awesome. Tell me, what's been the most challenging aspect of your work, and how have you overcome that?
Look, the most challenging aspect of the business, I guess, is not falling into the same trap that every other business owner falls into. You've got to have one foot in operating the business, but also the other foot in growing the business. And it's sometimes difficult to keep that balance, especially with event management, because that's basically the business that we're in. We put on business to business local business events, and they are very complex in their nature, and there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and Murphy's Law rules supreme. If something can go wrong, it will absolutely go wrong.
Yeah, God laughs at people who make plans, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as Mike Tyson says, every boxer's got a plan until that first punch hits them on the nose.
Yeah, that's the one.
and then everything goes out the window, you know.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine that one.
so resisting that has was a fairly big challenge, and the way I solved that for me was to build a brains trust. You know, get a group of people together, like-minded people. There's about 8 of us. We get together and we help each other with our businesses. So, you know, no money's changing hands, but we get together over a coffee or dinner or whatever, and we just talk about.
Case, as I see online all the time.
Yeah, look, yeah, as you know, I'm
the sweet tooth man.
Yeah, definitely. I love a piece of cake and a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah,
so yeah, we talk over our challenges, we share our goals, and quite often, you know, somebody will say something out of ignorance because they don't understand your business, and you think, you know what, why haven't I looked at that problem that way? So it can be quite a refreshing experience. So yeah, that's how I cope with that.
My next question is, in your opinion, what are the key qualities or skills that have contributed to your success?
Look, I think that they're qualities and skills that most people have, but they don't get the opportunity to develop them as well, perhaps, as I have. Communication is a key one.
Absolutely.
Everybody looks at things a little bit differently, and you've got to be prepared to see things from other people's perspectives if you're going to have conversations that lead to productive relationships, you know. So communication is a key one. Organizational skills, definitely. You've got to be. I love the eisenhower matrix, which has the, you know, urgent and important, important but not urgent. You know, there's four different quadrants there. That everything can be put into, because far too often people are focusing on the 20% of things on the 80% of things that only deliver 20% of their result. So you need to understand what your key performance indicators are, and with most businesses, the 80-20 rule is supreme. 20% of what you're doing is giving you 80% of your result. That's what you need to work on. That 20%. Most people work on the 80% that is only giving them 20% of their result. So it's about getting that proportion right and focusing on the right things.
It interrupted for a second, Dennis. I've done this, I'm guilty of this. I see entrepreneurs, they all want the next shiny object. And what I used to do, I'd make say 10,000 a week on this business, and I'd lose 5,000 a week on 2 other businesses I was trying to make them work. And one day I read a book, and it said this. It said, cut your losers and do more on your winners.
Yeah, definitely.
And I virtually doubled again after that. I got rid of the shiny object syndrome and went back to the core product. Which I was bored. I mean, we get bored with our business sometimes, Dennis, right? And I was a bit bored, but it was a money winner, so I just made it more interesting and of course more money. So guys, focus. Big one there, Dennis, is the focus. It's all about the focus.
Definitely.
And Dennis will tell you this, guys. One of my key points I tell my people when I'm online with them is this: it's 18 people to build a house: the plumber, the carpenter, the gardener, the roofer, electrician, the landscaper. 18 people to build a house, and here you are trying to build a big business by yourself. It doesn't make a lot of sense, guys. Get out and network. Attend events like what Dennis puts on. Reach out to people like Dennis who are consultants and get some advice and get some help. You haven't got enough time in your life to make all the mistakes that we've already made. So learn from other people, guys. Get mentors. Be willing to learn. Invest in yourself. That's my hobby horse, Dennis, as you know. Right. In your opinion, what are the key qualities and skills that have contributed to your success along the way, Dennis?
Well, as I mentioned, communication, organisation, and knowing when you're on a winner versus flogging a dead horse. You know, but a lot of that has got to do with what your vision is. I think, you know, everybody starts a business with a dream, right? But the reality of business is that it's hard yakka, and as a consequence of that hard yakka and having your head down, you're in the trenches, you're really at the coalface, and you're working hard. But as a consequence of doing that, you lose sight of what you started the business for in the first place. And you started the business to enjoy a better lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Look, most of the people that we speak to in our local business community are not enjoying a better lifestyle as a consequence of starting their business. They're actually suffering a worse lifestyle, and they're not making any money out of it. So it's about going back to the basics and saying, what did I start this business for? What was my big picture? And where did I lose track of that so that you can get back onto it?
I call it the 4 Fs, Dennis. Family, freedom, 4 Fs, always the one. What's it? No, family, friends, freedom, and my last one, fun.
Yeah,
Four Fs.
fun's important. Yeah,
absolutely. If not having fun, don't do it, guys. Got to be fun.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell us, Dennis, how do you stay motivated to continue to innovate in your field?
Look, staying motivated is about constantly plugging back into your dream. You know,
yes.
When I find myself, and I do often find myself getting into a bit of a dark mood because things aren't going the way that I want them to. You know, life isn't a bed of roses. But what you've got to do when for me, what works for me is to stop and actually look at what you're doing and why, and look at the things that you're not doing. Get somebody else to do those things. You know, don't do the things in your business that you don't like doing. Get somebody else to do it, because I'll tell you for nothing right now, if you are working hard on doing the things that you don't like, you're not doing them well, because that's basic human nature. Yeah. You will never excel at something that you don't like.
Advice. Yeah, I tell people, listen, guys, get a bit of paper, draw down the line down the center, put all the things you're good at and that you love doing on the left-hand side, the things you don't like doing, put them on the right-hand side and have a look at them and go, I don't like mowing the lawn. Get someone to come in every month and mow the lawn. I don't want to clean the pool. Get someone to clean you're not lazy, you're smart. Because why that guy's cleaning the pool for $20, you're inside your office making $100 doing something you love. He loves cleaning pools. He loves being outdoors. You love helping people. So it's a win-win. So guys, do the stuff you love, you know. And be prepared to work. It's hard work. It's a grind, guys. It's a grind. And guys, you've got to have rain to see the rainbows. So when you have those dark days, just look at it and say, wow, there's a rainbow. I'm going to go back up again now and get back on the horse. You know, it's really that simple. Tell us about a recent project or achievement you're particularly proud of. Dennis, you've done so many different things. Tell us something you're particularly proud of.
Well, look, actually, it's probably 18 months ago now, but not long after my wife and I bought the business from Paula, we entered a business awards competition, and we entered the competition really just as an opportunity to reflect on what we were doing and where we were going and all of that sort of thing. Because, I mean, as you're aware, with these sorts of competitions, they ask you all sorts of questions about your business, similar to some of the questions you're asking here as well. It was a national competition, and the awards evening was on the Gold Coast at the Star Casino and Hotel. So it was pretty flash. And we actually won our category. So out of all of the businesses in our category, and there were over 100 of them nationally, we came up with the award, and I just couldn't believe it.
So proud.
I was ecstatic. And you know, interestingly enough, Jeff, although I got a huge buzz out of that, and I've got the award on my desk, I get to look at it every day. It always brings a smile to my face. But 2 days later, so the awards night was on the Saturday. The Sunday, I posted on my social media that we'd won this award, you know. On the Monday, I got a call from a company that I've been trying to get on board as a sponsor for about 8 months. And they, you know, they were polite and they were talking to us, and, you know, the relationship was moving forward, but it was snail's pace. Anyway, got the call, and he said to me, he said, look, he said, I saw your post, you won that award. Mate, he said, that's fantastic, well done. He said, are you still on the Gold Coast? because at this stage we were living in North Brisbane, not at Tamborine. And I said, yeah, I am. I go back to North Brisbane tomorrow. And he said, can we get together for a coffee this afternoon? I said, sure. So I joined him for a cup of coffee, and he signed up.
Awesome. There you go. See, guys, all
So
about
winning the award actually led to a direct result in terms of revenue. Not that
and I'm sure more than one, Dennis. I'm sure more than one, because you're
yeah.
you're good at what you do. You know, and then I tell people in America, I say, like Tom Brady's won 8 Super Bowls. I tell the people in America, listen, I'm like the Tom Brady of marketing. It's not my fault. I'm good at what I do. So don't apologize for it. You know what I mean? We are what we are. It's hard to be humble when you're good. What advice would you give someone aspiring to follow in your footsteps, Dennis, and do the hard work? What would you tell them?
Yeah, look, I think that the thing that I would tell them to do more than anything is say, okay, tell me what your life is going to look like in 3 years, and they'll tell me, what they see their life and business looking like. And then my next question is, okay, immediately before achieving that, what will you have to do in order to take that next step and be successful to the extent that you're explaining to me? And that conversation goes for about 20 minutes until we get to what the first step is. See, most people, when they're planning to start a business, will start at the beginning. What's my first step? Oh, I've got to register a business name. Our brains are not wired to be forward planning focused, right? Our brains are wired to analyze what we've done. So when you start at the end and work your way back to the beginning, you end up being a lot more successful and a lot better planned and organized than when you start a plan from what's the first step to the last step. Because when you ask people that, they get to about step 4 and they think, well, what's next?
Yes.
What's next? But when you work backwards, you know what's next.
I tell people also, as you would also agree with, get a mentor. You haven't got enough time to make all the mistakes that you and I have made. So get a mentor and shorten the journey a bit, right? Reach out to people like yourself. I mean, you're always up for a cup of coffee, I'm sure, and to guide younger people and help them and give some advice. So, guys, get a mentor, and invest in yourselves. The other one, guys, is some of the people are so bloody miserable. Like I used to spend, guys, $6,000 a week. I had a $5 million business. I get people today who won't spend $1,000 a year. So,
Right.
guys, get a mentor and be prepared to invest. The best investment you can make is yourself. Self-education, like Dennis has done all his life, right?
Yeah.
Looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations for the future, Dennis? You've got a long way to go, another long way in the journey still. What are your goals and aspirations?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Look, over the next, we're 1 year into a 3-year plan. So over the next 2 years, we want to get the Business and Jobs Expos to a point where we can actually pass it on to a full-time parent. See, at the moment, we consider ourselves to be foster parents for the Business and Jobs Expos.
So you want to leave a legacy, in other words.
Yeah, definitely. We want to. You asked me earlier, Jeff, before we went live. Why don't you take this around the country? Well,
yes.
Clint Eastwood once told me in a movie that I watched of his, a man's got to know his limitations, right? I know my limitations, and I can operate very successfully on the scale that I am at the moment. But in order to scale this business up, the business needs a full-time parent. So we're getting the business ready for that full-time parent. And the full-time parent could come from somebody that we're already doing business with, a sponsor or associate or whatever. But by 2027, we want to have identified and be in serious discussions with that full-time parent to take it to the next stage.
Are you feeling lucky, punk? I thought that was going to be your line, knowing you. I thought that would be your line. Dennis, we'll wrap this up very shortly. Tell our listeners and people watching this event, tell them what's the best way to reach out and find out more about your expo and some of your get some of your business wisdom. What's the best way?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously through the website for the Expos, which is smallbusinessexpos.com.au. I'm on LinkedIn. Just put in Communication Commando for LinkedIn,
Nice
and my profile will come up. On my profile, I say to everybody that has a look at it that no connection request is refused, and it isn't. I love connecting with people on LinkedIn.
Love that. And, good attitude. A lot of people go, "Oh, what do you want?" We might be able to help each other. Goodness sake.
Yeah, definitely.
Be open-minded.
Yeah. Yep, that's exactly right. It's all about forging relationships that are of value to everybody in the relationship.
Yeah. And I said it earlier, Dennis. I said and I meant it. Some of the best ideas, guys, come out of the mouths of what you think are idiots. And you can run with them. They don't run with them, but you can. And guys, what you don't know about, a fun fact about me is that, I'll get Dennis in a minute, I had 200 jobs between 14 and 28. 200 jobs working for idiots. And one day I decided I'm going to go and work for a lunatic. So I started working for myself. I've never looked back. Never looked back. Dennis will tell you what it's like. Before we wrap it up, Dennis, tell us a fun fact about yourself that most people don't know, Dennis.
Look, well, there's things that I can share and there's things that I can't. But
tell us what you can.
Okay, so the fun fact about me that only people that are in my inner circle know is that during the mid-1970s to the early 1980s, I was a club disc jockey. I was right. It was in Sydney, and right at the birth of the disco era.
Yeah.
So I've got some interesting tales to tell about people that are well known and also people that are not so well known that I've had the opportunity and good fortune to work with.
That's pretty cool.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
For Dennis, for 10 years, I owned the floating disco in Sydney Harbour.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
That's a small world.
Yeah, it is. It is. And Bill Allen, the police commissioner, closed me down. Eventually, yeah. That's another incident. And then I turned around and closed him down. And he ended up going to jail. So that's another story.
Right.
So, I say to people, don't muck around with the guru. You don't know who I know. Right. You've been an awesome guest today, Dennis. It's been a lot of fun, my friend, and we both got our pet subject, which is marketing, and basically it's about helping people, guys. And guys, Dennis will tell you, and we both know, we're both old enough to tell you, no one, I repeat, no one's coming to save you. The government, your friends, your family, no one's going to save you. You've got to save yourself. So make the effort, guys.
Exactly.
It's in you. Just get out and make it happen. Right. Thanks very much for being on the show today, Dennis. You've been awesome.
Mate, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.